a nuclear weapon. I've been saying it for a long time. And I think they were a few weeks away from having one. And they had to sign a document. I think they wish they signed it now. It was a fair deal. And now it's a harder thing to sign, you know. It's a lot of water over the dam. But, you know, it's very, I say it very simply. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Too much devastation. And they'd use it, you know, I believe they'd use it. Others won't use it, but I believe they'd use it. So that's it, it's very simple as far as I'm concerned. They can't have a nuclear weapon. I talk about having, we're the only ones that have the capability to do it, but that doesn't mean I'm going to do it at all. Yeah, we have the best military equipment in the world. You see that with this fight. We have planes that are undetectable, flying around like, you know, nobody's able to see them stealth. You guys want to be stealthy tonight. You know, you can be stealthy and never lose, right? But these are incredible planes and weapons. We have the best weapons in the world, by far. Nobody close. And I mean, certain countries take advantage of that. Israel has incredible weaponry. So we'll see what happens. I've been asked about it, everybody, but I haven't made a decision. I'd like to see everything done. I would have preferred having just an agreement, a strong agreement, you know, verifiable agreement. But it was such a shame. They were so close. You know, Iran was very close to signing what would have been a very good agreement for them. And maybe that could still happen, I guess. You know, they do want to come and see us. They want to see me in the White House. That's a big statement. But it's very late.
Is it enough of a statement to hold off?
We're going to see what happens. We're going to see what happens. Ending it as soon as you can would be good.
Have you closed the door on meeting with them?
No.
Okay, so it's still open to them coming here in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, they asked if they could come. We'll see if that happens. It's not that easy for them to come. They can't get out. You know, they're in Iran, and in one case, the guy wanted to come so badly, but he can't get out because his bomb's dropping all over the place.
Have you seen the Tucker Carlson and Senator Ted Cruz interview? It seems like this issue on whether or not the United States should strike is kind of dividing a lot of your supporters.
No, my supporters are for me. My supporters are America first. They make America great again. My supporters don't want to see Iran have a nuclear weapon. Tucker's a nice guy. He called and apologized the other day because he thought he said things that were a little bit too strong, and I appreciated that. And Ted Cruz is a nice guy. I mean, he's been with me for a long time. I'd say once the race was over, he's been with me ever since, right? But very simple. If they think that it's okay for Iran to have a nuclear weapon, then they should oppose me, but nobody thinks it's okay. People that don't want, I don't want to fight either, I'm not looking to fight. But if it's a choice between fighting and them having a nuclear weapon, you have to do what you have to do. Maybe we won't have to fight. Don't forget, we haven't been fighting. We add a certain amount of genius to everything, but we haven't been fighting at all. Israel's done a very good job of that. But we'll see what happens. The bottom line is they can't have nuclear. And if Ted, I can't imagine that Ted Cruz said it's okay for Iran to have nuclear, including Tucker. I don't think Tucker says it's okay. The problem is then they get themselves into a thing. They don't want them to have nuclear, but then they say, well, we don't want to fight. Well, you're going to have to make a choice because it's possible that you're going to have to fight for them not to have nuclear. And it's interesting because I did ask Tucker, I said, well, are you okay with nuclear weapons being in the hands of Iran? And he sort of didn't like that. He didn't want to really, but he sort of didn't like that. And I said, well, if it's okay with you, then you and I do have a difference. But it's really not okay with him. Therefore, you may have to fight. And maybe it'll end, and maybe it'll end very quickly. But there's no way that you can allow, whether you have to fight or not, you can allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon because the entire world will blow up. I'm not going to let that happen.
You had a bit of a row with President Emmanuel Macron in France the other day at the G7. It sounded like.
He's a nice guy. Look, he said I was going back home to make a ceasefire. Not a ceasefire. We're long beyond ceasefire. And I said, why do you say that? Why would you say ceasefire? It's a bad term to use. Because a ceasefire means like everything's going swimmingly, we'll take a little time off. It's not. We're not looking for a ceasefire. We're looking for a total, complete victory. Again, you know what the victory is. No nuclear weapon. So I thought it was a very badly worded statement by him, and obviously I let him know that.
In a series of explosive and highly provocative posts on Truth Social, President Donald Trump made global headlines by directly threatening Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Trump claimed that the U.S. could easily eliminate Khamenei, but is choosing not to for now to avoid retaliatory attacks on American troops and civilians. We know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding. He is an easy target, Trump wrote, but we are not going to take him out, at least not for now. In another post, he doubled down, saying the only reason the US has not acted is to prevent Iranian missile attacks against civilians and American soldiers stationed across the region. But then, in true Trump fashion, the tone escalated. He posted in all capital letters, "Unconditional surrender." These comments, which resemble the rhetoric of wartime ultimatums more than traditional diplomacy, have stunned observers worldwide. They come at a volatile time just days after Trump abruptly cut short his G7 visit, and only hours after he urged nearly 10 million Iranian civilians to evacuate, warning of potential escalation. Behind these threats is the mounting intensity of the Israel-Iran war. Israel has been bombing Iranian targets for 5 consecutive days, with satellite images confirming significant damage to military and nuclear-related infrastructure. Some Israeli officials say they are now close to having the capability with US support to cripple Iran's nuclear program entirely. On board Air Force One, a visibly frustrated Trump told reporters early Tuesday morning, "We're not looking for a ceasefire, we're looking for better than a ceasefire." He added that his patience is wearing thin, and that Iran should have taken his offer to negotiate earlier. "They should have done the deal. I told them, do the deal. But now I'm not in the mood to negotiate," Trump said bluntly, reinforcing that while military pressure is front and center, diplomacy isn't completely off the table. He floated the idea of sending Vice President JD Vance and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to engage with Iranian officials, but only if Tehran is ready to talk surrender, not compromise. Meanwhile, Iran continues to claim it is not actively pursuing nuclear weapons, a position backed by US intelligence. In fact, just this March, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard testified that Iran has not restarted the nuclear weapons program it halted in 2003, and that Supreme Leader Khamenei has not given the green light to revive it. But Trump isn't buying it. When asked about Gabbard's testimony, he brushed it aside, saying, "I don't care what she said. I think they were very close to having it." These remarks only deepen the growing divide between Trump and members of the US intelligence community, and with tensions at a boiling point, the stakes couldn't be higher. Iran now faces the dual threat of Israeli military action and an American president who is publicly mulling assassination of its highest religious and political figure. At this moment, the world stands on edge. One miscalculation, one airstrike too far could ignite a regional war or worse. Trump appears determined to show strength, but the question is, at what cost? Will Iran bend under the pressure or respond with force? Will Trump's strategy bring about unconditional surrender or spark a new war? We'll continue to monitor this developing story. Stay tuned.